we will begin with the introductory statements of 5 minutes and.
You got 1 minute with the blue. Red time's up.
Yay. Okay.
I wonder where that came from.
You are ready to begin.
Okay. Well, as most of you know, I have been the school board representative for District 1 since 2004. And during that time, there are quite significant things have happened. Some affect the district as a whole, and some just District 1. One of the things that I'm very proud to do, one of the first things I did when I got on the school board was I tackled the accumulated vacation for 12-month employees. When I got on the school board, they were able to accumulate unlimited vacation days. So we had some people retiring and drawing checks of over $100,000 a year in retirement days alone. So the years that we had 10 people to retire that had that kind of program, it's costing us, $1 million a year in some cases when people would retire. So I didn't think that was right. I went to the state because the county would not release all the information to me. I went to the state. I went over the school board's head because the school board voted twice to not give me the information, if you can believe that. So I went to the state told me to cease and desist and gave us the information. Now, the present retirement is not a whole lot better. I still get $1,680, and I'm like Tom, because I'm on some of the others, if you don't use it, you lose it. This is the way I think it should work. I don't think we should be paying out money and unused vacation days. And I need some help, Tom, to help me finish that up. We did get it pared down, but I blame a lot of that on the teachers union because they went along with that. Because our MOU was under the teachers have to agree to it, and they agreed to that unlimited vacation days. So a lot of that blame goes to them. Also, we went to the state. My sister actually went to the state about fees, about charging students fees for certain classes. And if you didn't pay the fee, your children were sometimes embarrassed. Went before they would give your child like a bright pink piece of paper that said, you have not paid your math fee, or you have not paid your lab fee, or they did this to my sister. My sister was having a hard enough time anyway as a single mom with children and not getting any child support from her ex-husband. She was having a hard enough time, and embarrassing kids at school was just more than she could handle. And so she called me about it, and I said, and this is before I even got on the school board, she said, I'm going to go to the state. I told her how the process to go to. So anyway, we got them to send us an order to cease and desist immediately. We were not able to do this to children and embarrass them. It's supposed to be a free public education. So fast forward that now, every year since then, I have been pounding on the fact that we have fees. You can request them, but you cannot require them. Of course, here again, the teachers union gets upset because they said, now we have to come out with money in our pocket. And I said, no, that's the school board's problem to put the money in the classroom where it needs to be. It's not, charging parents money is taxation without representation. You cannot, the school does not have the authority to tax parents. So therefore that was the thing. So finally this year, last year, I guess in last year's budget, we put more money into the classroom. And that all started back before I got on the school board with the group that I had called CARE. We started that movement back then, and then finally last year it came to fruition that we can do that. Now we're getting ready to work on athletics. That's our next thing because it costs way too much money. Sometimes $600 to play football, $500 to play baseball. It's insane. We should never do that. I played every sport that had a ball in it, and it's ridiculous that parents have to pay that kind of money for their children because the people who need it the most are the ones that are getting left behind playing sports, because some kids, that's their only ticket to college, and that's very bothersome to me. And then some of the things in District 1, we built Saudi Elementary. We built an entrance to Daisy Elementary, which is nuts needed because Daisy Elementary was actually landlocked. You had to go through the parking lot of Saudi Daisy High School to get to Daisy Elementary. We're finally getting a football field at Sale Creek High School. We're the only high school in the whole district, in the whole county, who did not have a football field. And we're working on that. Hopefully that should be finished, hopefully by Christmas. We've had lots of other things go on. We've added additions. We've done a lot of renovations to Saudi Daisy Middle, which does need to be replaced. But that's another discussion for later on, because the facilities plan, we kept waiting on the facilities plan. Of course, when it came out, you saw it was had a 1.3 billion, first time we've ever used the word billion on the school board, $1.3 billion price tag. But if we followed their instructions, it was just gonna be 800,000. So, but anyway, that's just some of the things in the district since I've been there.
All right, so I'm the newcomer. My name is Vickers, and I've been a resident of the community of District 1 for 47 years. So I've been there. My son goes to school there. My son's a matter of fact, as you were talking about the facilities plan and stuff like that, he was the one that found the snake coming in the classroom. Thinking, so he was probably the one that chased somebody around. I didn't know my son, but that's him. So a little bit about me. I am a data analyst. So to keep the boring side of that out of it, and I always tell people that because I crunch numbers all day long. I work for a Fortune 50 company, kind of in the same principles as Rhonda spoke about with the vacation time. If you're familiar with it, anybody that's a publicly traded company, you have to maintain that bank account outside of a normal scope in order for funds for all unpaid time. Well, one thing that I did with the company I work for is we were able to revitalize that program and cut back about $3.8 million over each fiscal quarter, not fiscal year, but fiscal quarter, to streamline our EBITDA profit margin. So a little bit about that. That's the type of things that I do. I look at the science behind the data, and then I bring the emotions and bring those attributes to make a winning company. I, for the last 15 years, have worked for the same company doing that. And over the past 6 months, you probably are familiar with it. We maintained the largest merger in corporate communications history. I worked for T-Mobile and was part of the team that managed the acquisition and merger of that company. A couple other things. I'm a community member, right? I've been there. My son goes to school there. My daughter graduated from Sunny Daisy High School last year. My son's at Sunny Daisy Middle School this year. I know what you're talking about with the sports, with the funding. I'm a single father, and with that, I make sure he has what he needs. His mother makes sure he has what he needs. We work together. That's what it's about. Working together in the community, working together with the schools, and making sure our students have what they need to come into the next century, right? Or the next decade that we're looking at. Because right now, those times, we don't know what it's going to look like. COVID has thrown a wretched monkey wrench in everything that we're looking at. We have to be able to have a mindset of analytics. We have to have a mindset and view of personal growth, of emotions when we bring this into it. Part of that, I worked with Mark White, state representative for Tennessee out of the Memphis district. He and I were in a master's program together at Lipscomb University. All right? We had great conversations about our education plans. It's a tough education plan. This was a couple years ago. We had to look at those items because my master's, we look at conflict management. That's what I do on the side. I say on the side because that's what I do every day too. I bring the numbers and the personal beliefs back into it to make a better unity and a better informed decision. With the ideas of the sports, thank you for that, because I know my son is probably looking at $1,000 price tag to play baseball. That's something that we have to look at, right? Those are things that we have to look at. And I mean, we were on the baseball field this weekend. Any baseball, basketball players in the room? Got grandkids, kids that play baseball, basketball? You know that's a tough price tag to tote. We have to, as a school board, look at those items. We have to encourage them. I encourage my son every year to look at 2 extracurricular activities. He's gravitated toward baseball and basketball. He does well at it. But that's what he wants. That's what I want for him. And I want to take that aspect, that viewpoint, toward everyone in Hamilton County. Every student, not just District 1, but every student to work with the board as a collaborative unification to get those decisions passed and made. Thank you.
Thank you both. First question, and this goes to you, Mrs. Thurman, and then you will have the opportunity to answer also, is How do you define success as a school board member, and what do you think is the greatest strength you bring to that position?
Okay. What would I consider to be a success in the school system? We could get third graders to read reading level. I think that's probably the thing that you're working on, Doug. I know you have worked tirelessly on doing your study, which, would you mind telling everybody, because it sounds ridiculous when I say it, how many kids read on grade level in third grade in Hamilton County? One third, about 33% read on grade level. It's totally unacceptable. It's been unacceptable since I've been on the school board. You know, I just don't understand. And the only answer the school board ever has is more money, which I think is absurd, because George Washington, I don't think he had a computer. I don't think Abraham Lincoln did. I don't think any of our founding fathers did. How in the world did they learn to read? Homeschoolers, I've often, you know, it makes them mad on the school board when if we can't teach kids to read. I said, we're going to have to bring in some homeschoolers to teach our kids to read. It makes them furious, but it's just absurd to me to continue to say it takes more money to teach children to read. Now, we do have some children with some reading, some reading disabilities that maybe they need to have a little bit more help, but it cannot be 70%. It just can't be 70% that have that kind of problem. So that's my biggest thing. What I bring is I'm not afraid to state the obvious. Some people are so politically correct, they just handcuff themselves, and they're so afraid they're trying to appease this group of people or that group of people. I don't have anybody to appease, except my mom. And when I get home, and she'll call and say, Ronnie, you don't, really. But anyway, but other than that, no one owns me. I don't ask the teachers union what they want, because I don't care. I don't ask other radical teacher groups what they want, because I don't care. I don't ask, I really just don't ask anyone, because when I go to a school board meeting, I have researched what I'm going to vote on. I have made the phone calls I need to make. I've gotten all the background information I need to make the decision myself without asking anyone else. Now, I may get to a school board meeting and somebody else may bring something up that may change my mind. That's happened a few times. Doesn't happen very often, because usually I try to cover all my bases before I get there. I think that's a strength I have, because I really just want to be my own person. I know the people of District 1. 95% of my family, 99% of my family live in District 1. So I'm just there to reach the people. That's just it.
So, and repeat the question one more time, just so I can answer directly to that.
How would you define success as a school board member, and what do you think is the greatest strength that you bring to that position?
As a school board member, I think the greatest measure of success is, number one, this is a merit-based opportunity, right? We have to measure Dr. Johnson on his ability to maintain the current standards are moving forward, right? It's simple, it's test scores. But as you stated, 1/3 of the current county is at or below or at the grade level, right, for reading and language arts. Number one, are we looking at the right test scores? Do we need to reevaluate what the test scores look like? Do we need to reevaluate the test? Because I'm sure if I walked into Sunny Days Middle School with my son, and or Sarah's school, Sunny Elementary, let's go back to the 3rd grade that you mentioned. If I walked in with a book, I can walk in and tell you that 80% of those kids can read. But can they read at what the state has asked them to read at? We need to take that back to the state and ask them, are you testing it the right way? Because how many people in here can read? Raise your hand. Let's get audience participation. Well, right there, we've already proved that that's wrong. More than 1/3 of us can read. So let's reevaluate how we're testing people. Number 2, as a school board member, measure of success. I want to work with everyone. I'm collaborative. I like to talk to people. I want to hear what you have to say. Because if I don't, I'm not representing those who elected me. If I can't represent those who elected me, then I'm my own individual. I did not get the majority of who we need to, or the voices we need to be heard within that. So that, to me, is a representation of a good school board member.
Thank you. Thank you both. Second question. What is your opinion of the management facilities report and its plans for District 1 schools?
Oh, wow. But the first night they brought this facilities plan up, and they said it was gonna cost $500,000, I almost fell out the floor. Number one, we have a maintenance department. The fellow that was there before, Gary Waters, knew every 12-inch square of the school system. And so he was, and we have a maintenance department. That is their job. That is their job to know our school system. I do not know why we had to pay $500,000 for somebody to come in and tell us what we should have already known. If we're going to do that, then we just need to get rid of the maintenance department and hire everything else out. That was number one. Number two, when they came back with a $1.3 billion price tag, I almost fell out again. This is insanity. And they said, but we're going to save you money if you do everything we say. It's just going to be $836 million, I think is what it was. I said, only in the school system can somebody tell you they're going to save you money by making you spend $836 million. But it's crazy, and what they want to do in District 1 is absurd. And we had a meeting set up when all this COVID mess started. We had a meeting set up with the principals of the schools that were going to be affected in District 1 about what they wanted, not what this other group wanted. They wanted to move Soddy Daisy Middle to where Daisy Elementary was, and move the kids at Daisy Elementary to Soddy Elementary. Well, that little hash in Soddy Daisy doesn't mean they're that close. That's a long way from Daisy to Soddy for those kids to travel. And so the whole thing is just patently absurd, in my opinion. Some of the things they're wanting to do, move this school to that school. We need to ask every community. So I'm meeting with the principals in my district to find out what they want to do with facilities. Not some out-of-town company from up north that doesn't know anything. They were just strictly looking at numbers. They weren't looking at communities. They weren't looking at anything else, just that. Did you hold that up? I'm sorry, I didn't say it. But anyway, I just think the whole thing is absurd. We've wasted $500,000, in my opinion.
So the facility plan goes right back to what I do, right? That's nothing but analytics. It was a tough price tag that was voted on. I'm not sure what other options were presented. That would have been something I would have looked at. I'd like to see other options that had been presented. We needed to sharpen the pencil on that one. That's a tough price tag to swallow that was voted on. However, you got to respect the board's vote. That takes only the numbers into play. It does not take the community. It does not take people's thoughts. My son doesn't want to move schools. Granted, this plan is a 10-year plan. He is in 8th grade, well, moving into 8th grade this year at Soddy Daisy Middle. I've got cousins that are at Soddy Elementary, Soddy Middle School, Loftus, all over. It takes only the numbers into account. We need to talk to the community, get the other piece of it. Everything always has two sides, just like a coin, right? You've got the analytics, and you've got to get the personal thoughts of the community involved. Get out there, talk to the constituents, talk to those who have students out there in the schools. Those parents have to be able to provide their input to this, because without that, it's going to be a nightmare. You're only working off of numbers, and numbers don't tell the full story of the management plan. That's how I see about it.
Thank you. Okay, next question. We in recent years have gained an appreciation for the fact that college may not be the best option for everyone as they prepare for a career. How do we better prepare Hamilton County Public School students for the other opportunities that may present themselves?
Oh, well, you're talking to, I am vocation. I've been doing hair for 45 years. So that is my wheelhouse right there. That's what I like. I hate what we've done to Sequoia High School though. Mm-hmm. I tried, if I could have had some help on the board, what I wanted to do was make Sequoia a vocational mega center. I made the calls to find out if there was enough room on that campus to put all the vocation on that, so they have one vocational site. And because what we have done now, we have balkanized them. We have done what they call, that we've changed the names of it so many times since I've been on the board, the different academies at these different schools. Future Ready Institutes, I think they call them now. Now we have, a health one at this school, and welding at this school. We have just balkanized them all up instead of putting them all on one campus, which I think is the smart thing to do. So that way, everybody is on one campus. But I think we destroyed it back when J.C. Register was here. We destroyed vocational education because they were pushing everyone to go to college, and not everyone needed to go to college by forcing them to take, 4 years of math and 4 years of science and all this stuff the kids really didn't need. 2 years of a foreign language. We've kind of cut back on that a lot at the state level, and we've cut back on a lot of that here in Hamilton County now. So we're kind of getting a little bit back more toward the vocational end. But listen, everybody in my family. Pretty much different kinds of vocations. We work with our hands, we're carpenters, we're brick masons, we're all those kind of vocations is what my family is. My grandfather owned a sawmill. And so I know those kind of people. And you can always make a living. A lot of people may be out of work, but if you can work with your hands, you will always have a job. And nobody sees that any better now than except when the government tells you you can't work. And I am essential, by the way. You ask anybody to need a haircut during that time. That right, Tom? And so, anyway, just like I say, if you work with your hands, you'll never be out of a job. If you can do that. And a lot of other people will be. But everybody doesn't need to go to college. Everybody doesn't want to go to college. It's just absolutely not necessary. You could be out wrangling cattle with April over here. Mm-hmm. And baling hay and making lots of money doing that. And I admire that. Hard work pays off. It's good to, at the end of the day, sit back and look at what you've accomplished during the day and feel good about it. Know that you've done something you're proud of.
Mr. Vickers.
So, I say I'm a data analyst and I'm a mediator. But before that, I was vocational. I started out, I worked for 10 years. I'm a journeyman electrician. My brother, 40 years, he's owned his own company in Chattanooga, right? So I started out digging the ditch. I started out pulling the Romex. I started out wiring and being an electrician. I moved up. I kept pushing myself. I was a project manager. After some time, I decided I wanted to make a change. I went into psychology. I looked at numbers from a personal perspective. So yes, vocational is a must. How many people need their car worked on? How many people change their own oil? Show of hands, come on. Ooh, I got 2. So we need vocational. How many people can put a ceiling fan in? Now everybody's going to participate a little bit more. All right, now let me throw this one in there. And a little bit. How many people can wire a 3-way switch? Woo! 1, 2, 3. All right. Half a switch, all right? That's what we got to do, right? I remember, and Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, Rhonda, but accounting is a vocational. When I was at Sunny Days High School, my accounting class was vocational. Dr. Hassel Gobble in college, you know Dr. Gobble, I'm sure. He still teaches, right? Still love that man to this day for some of the things he taught me, right? We have to have vocational because we all need an oil change. We all need a haircut. Trust me, during COVID, Sarah cut my hair. You should have seen the stripe, right? We need a few more, right? It is something that we have to. Not everyone wants to go to college. I started out in vocational. Then I changed my mind because I wanted to do more. I wanted to continue to expand. We have military, JROTC. It's not vocational. But not everyone's the same. Not everyone has that desire to do those structured ideas in college. So let's take a look at it. Let's expand that. We have 2 vocational programs. Why not 3? Why not 4 schools? Right? Let's look at those. Let's look at expanding. Mega school, great idea. But let's move forward with it. Let's not just sit back and wait on it. Move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Well, money is always in the forefront of most people's minds. So talk to me about how you plan to work as a member of the school board to manage finances controlled by the mayor, staff, and the commission without a tax increase.
Okay, well, I've been doing this for a while, so there are ways to do it. We've always done it. When the last time this 34-cent property tax increase proposal that it came before the county commission, it started out being a 75 cent. I don't know if a lot of y'all know that or not. That's where it started. That's where the negotiation started at 75 cents. They talked it down to 34 cents. Let me ask you this: where would you be right now if you had gotten that tax increase, this COVID thing going on, where would a lot of people be? With their homes, people that lost their homes over in, you know, I just don't understand where we would be. Some people just think, well, you know, that it's for the children, You know, the children need a lot of things other than some of the things the school board says they need. They need a home, they need their cars, their parents need cars, they need homes, they need vacations. There's lots of things that kids need besides increase in pay for school employees, which is usually what it always boils down to. Either hiring more people, and this last time, the teachers chose to hire 186 more people rather than get a raise, because they were promised that they would get a raise this year. They were going to go for a 10% raise. Well, somebody led their little ducks to a dry pond, because that's not going to happen. And so, you know, I look for things in reality. I don't look for pie in the sky, good time, Charlie Brown. I look for reality. I've worked with people for 45 years. I know what they think. I have customers who are millionaires, and I have some that have to save to get a haircut, and I treat them all the same. They all have the same wants and needs. Now, I'd have to look at something besides just whether teachers need a raise, and administrators get that raise as well, whether they need a raise, or whether my mother here, who lives on a fixed income, can afford to pay her property tax. Are parents going to be able to take their kids on vacation? Are we going to be able to give the police officers a raise? God knows they need it. I wouldn't do their job for what they get paid. And so there's lots of things you have to consider rather than just somebody getting a raise. And my thing has always been too, if you get a raise, is that going to make you a better employee? Is it going to make you a better teacher? If it does, I want to know which one of the ones you're going to fire for somebody else to come in and take their place. What is paying some? That's like I say, I'll give you a good haircut for $20. You give me $25, I'll give you a real good haircut. No, you do your best job for the amount of money you're getting paid, and then if there's extra money left over, we need to live within our means, like all other taxpayers have to do with their household. You need to learn to live within your means, and that's what we have to do.
Repeat your question one more time.
How do you plan to work as a member of our school board to manage finances controlled by the mayor's staff and the commission without a tax increase?
A tax increase, as you said, it can't happen, right? Everyone, especially right now, we know that we don't know what's going to happen next. Plain and simple. We do not know what's going to happen next. How many people are back to work? How many people are on fixed income? What do we have to look forward to? We don't know. What we do know is we've got to live within our means. You're right. How does that work? How does that work for the schools? Do we know that? Nope. We don't know that. We have to look at, forecast, and analyze what's coming down the pike to the best of our ability. Over the last 3 months, I've been doing that. Like I said, I work for T-Mobile, right? Every corporation, every company, all the way down to the hair salons, suffered one way, shape, form, fashion, or another. I had to take, I'll say right now, I'll just round it up, 36,000 employees to make sure that they were allotted and could maintain some type of semblance of salary. Because we only saw 2 silo structures within the communications industry thrive. One was medical facilities, and 2 was schools. New York purchased, I think it was around 86,000. I got 1 minute, is that right? Perfect. I saw red, I saw blue, so thank you. 86,000 internet-based units to send to their schools, their school children, to help them maintain connectivity to their teachers at home, right? They did that through them. It was outside of their budget. We have to look at what's coming next and be able to forecast and be able to move on a dime. If you can't move on a dime, you're sitting still and you're going to be behind. You'll be the last horse out of the stall. We have to bring new ideas to the school board. We have to have a fresh set of eyes in order to make that happen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the elephant that's in the room, no pun intended for pachyderms, we're trying to plan a new school year, and yet so many things are uncertain about the COVID-19 pandemic. What do you think about Hamilton County schools returning to schools in classrooms August 12th?
Oh, I'm ready. I'm absolutely ready. I think that their kids, their health depends on a lot more than just COVID-19. We have the kids who are getting very anxious. Kids are kids. They need to be outside. They need to be with their friends or social animals. I know my grandson, for instance, I mean, he cried when he didn't get back to school. I mean, it really bothered him. You know, he would just say, "Yo, now I can't believe I don't need to go back to school." Kids need a lot more than, I mean, there's a lot more that has to do with their health than just COVID-19. You know, in order to go back to school, I think that we need to just, if you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. If you want your children to wear a mask, get them a mask, let them wear it to school. That should be this is where I get personal responsibility. If this is what you want to do, we should be able to do it. But we did not close schools after 9/11. We did not close schools after Pearl Harbor. We can do this. We can go back to school. If parents want to send their kids back to school, I know we have a four-phase program. Phase 1 is no school at all virtual. The second is just half virtual, half not. The third is where we're going to start back to school in the third phase, where we're just going to cut down some things. You know, kids maybe eat in their classroom. All of that hasn't really been decided yet. And phase 4 is we just go wide open and do whatever. People have come up with some really ridiculous ideas. Number one, they wanted to send two buses for every route. That's insanity. We can't even hardly, our transportation is $13 million a year. We don't have $26 million a year to do about bus routes for every route. We can't do that. We can't find the bus driver, and we can't get the buses if we could. It's just crazy. Parents are going to have to make the decision. If you want to send your children back to school, if you want to wear a mask, you let them wear a mask. If you want them to stay home, you're either going to have to homeschool them or do online classes. That's going to be your choice, but you're going to have to do it by the semester. You can't just have your kids at school for 2 or 3 weeks, at home 2 or 3 weeks and then decide to send them to school. We have staffing issues. It makes staffing issues for virtual school. It makes staffing issues for the classroom. So, and for teachers that don't want to return, we'll have to get a policy about that. For the ones that are have autoimmune problems or other kind of problems, we have to work something out with them. But we cannot stop school. Schools have to go back. Kids have to get back in school. Like I say, we've had many disasters here in America, and we've never shut down schools before.
Mr. Vickers, question again. In light of COVID, should we open schools August 15th, and if not, what are our options?
So, currently, Lieutenant Colonel and Mr. Thurman, I believe, have provided a robust team to analyze what's going on. I know they're looking at all options. I've read every little detail because I'm personally concerned about it. I've got vested interest in it. My mother's 81 years of age. She still tries to get out and mow the yard after she had hip surgery a year ago. She wants to push mow. No, come on, that's not a walker, it's a push mower. And that's what Dr. Bernard told her she could use a mower as a push mower, or the push mower as a walker. It's hilarious. But she's at home. She is in that risk group. We have to take considerations. The 4-phased approach. Right now we're sitting in phase 3 if we go back today, which means pretty much as normal with the options if you don't want to, right? So if you have that compromise at home, if that child has a compromise, we've got to take that in consideration. If the teachers or the administrators have anyone that's compromised and could be at risk. Take a good example. I know a first grade teacher at Saudi Elementary School, Mrs. Chandler. If anyone knows her, anybody Saudi Elementary? All right, Mrs. Chandler started teaching there when I went to Saudi Elementary. She still teaches there. Her husband and I work together at TVA, right? We have to come up with those plans. That has to be addressed. But as we see it now, we're moving forward in the right direction. We've got 4-phase approach. We're looking at a per capita basis on COVID on a return. But agreed, our kids need to be outside. They need to be active. Trust me, if you can see my eyes, probably I've got white streaks all around them. 14 hours on the ball field yesterday. The kids had a blast. We are all over the place playing baseball. We take precautions, we assess the situation, and we make that decision. We have to honor that decision because we own that decision. So that's how I see it.
Thank you. Well, as you can see, if I hold my list of questions up for you, there are lots of other questions that we would like to ask our candidates. But in respect of your time, we're going to stop with questioning at this point and allow for closing statements of 3 minutes each. I have a feeling that both are available if you'd like to talk with them after we adjourn the meeting. So, Mrs. Thurman, closing remarks, 3 minutes.
Okay. Well, like I say, I think I've proven myself in District 1 that they know. It's kind of funny, in District 1 you either like me or you don't. At this point, this is where we pretty much are. And those that don't like me think, I guess that I'm too outspoken, which I find funny. I think my favorite bumper sticker is, well-behaved women. They never make history. So that's me. I just like to just state the obvious. Even about like going back to school. Let's just go back to school. Some people say that's so simplistic. Well, I don't see what's hard about that. If you want your child to wear a mask, let them wear a mask. If you don't, keep them at home. Homeschooling, virtual schools. That's your choice, not mine. I think it's quite pompous of the school board to sit up there on the board and think that we can tell 43,000 sets of parents what they need to do with their children. That's your choice. It's not mine. You can't tell me what's best for my grandchildren, and you couldn't tell me what was best for my daughter. That was my husband's decision to decide what was best for her, and that's the decisions that we made along the way. So, but anyway, the people of District 1 know me. They know that I'm not afraid to speak out. They know that I will fight, and I fight for the teachers in my district too, because some of them, even when the teachers union did not speak up for some teachers, I went to bat for them. And some of them I saved their jobs because the HCEA would not go to bat for them because they try to be so politically correct, and they're quite frankly in bed with the administration, if people have never noticed, because they get around, they high hands, back slapping, going to the same meetings, and they come out and as long as they're both cover for each other, then they're good. I don't like that real cozy relationship. I never have. I don't think it's good for anyone, and that's one thing that I have a problem with. I'm not afraid to confront them about that because I also realize that the superintendent works for me. I do not work for him. Amen. I think the superintendent needs to sit down front with his staff where I can see him. I don't like looking over this way. I've told that many times because him sitting up in the middle, everybody thinks he's in charge. He's not. I'm 1/9 of his boss, and don't think I don't wear his phone out, calling him, texting him, telling him what I think. But he also said, "Ron, I appreciate you doing that. It makes me a better superintendent. It makes me know where my place is." Well, because I am the only voice that taxpayers have in District 1. I'm it. And without me, they don't have a voice. And I want them to know that I will go to bat for them. I will go to bat for their students. I've done a lot of things for a lot of students in my district when I felt like they were treated unfairly. And I've done the same thing for teachers when they've been treated unfairly. And it's real funny. Years ago, they used to send all teachers that got in trouble to Sale Creek. They thought they would send them to purgatory, to Sale Creek. But what they found out when they got there, it was paradise. And some of them have never left that place. And I'm just telling you, there's some, that. Some of them that were sent up there, they retire there, they love it. We have a great district in District 1, a lot of great things going on in the north end of the county. I want to see some of these things through, and like I said, I think I've proven myself to do exactly what I said I would do. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vickers, closing statement.
So like I started out with in the beginning, I'm the new guy here. You're getting to know me a little bit more. Some of you probably already know me. I've been in the community for 47 years. I raised a child here. I've got vested interest here in District 1. That's why I'm running for school board. I think I can bring what I do for a living, both on the analytics side, crunch those numbers, make the superintendent accountable. He would be my employee, 1/9, correct. Because it's a merit. He has to show improvements. We have to maintain that. Right now, we're the fastest growing district in the state of Tennessee. So some things are going right. We've got to keep going, hold people's feet accountable, right? We all do that. Business owners in here. I always like audience participation. Do you hold your employees accountable? Because if not, what are you? You're the lowest performing. You're bankrupt, right? Hold everyone accountable. That's what we have to do. That's what I will do. I do it every day. I hold every one of the employees under my umbrella accountable. But at the same time, I listen to them. I work with them. Because one vote will never win only one election, the unopposed election. You have to work with each other. You have to compromise. You have to be collaborative on the school board. Without that, you will never gain traction. You will never see progress in our school systems. That's what I will bring to the table in this election. Thank you.
I want you to join me in a round of applause for both of our candidates. What they just demonstrated for us were two candidates talking about issues as opposed to casting aspersions on each other. That's the way the Republic works. That's the way that a free government made up of representatives who vote what their people want them to vote functions. So thank you so much for being here today, for being a part of that. And Robert,
let's
back to you.
also show our appreciation to Linda Moss-Mine. Fantastic job. Thanks again for everybody coming today. I really appreciate your attendance. This time, I actually do have those people that will be speaking to us next